When I talk about the business of speculation, I don't dress it up in fancy clothes. I never believed in that. You see, the market is a place where truth comes out whether you like it or not, and truth has a sharp way of cutting through all the nonsense. If a man wants to stay in this game, he must learn to see things as they are, not as he wishes them to be. That's where the idea of a hawk's eye comes in. A hawk doesn't flutter about like a pigeon in the park. A hawk circles high, steady, patient, and it doesn't waste energy until the moment is right. Tell me, do you look at the market that way, or do you flutter around chasing every scrap? The hawk doesn't strike every time it sees a mouse move. It waits. It studies. It knows that one clean strike feeds it better than a dozen half-hearted dives. In trading, it's the same. You must watch with a sharp eye, but you mustn't act every time you notice movement. You can't build wealth by being busy, you build it by being right. And being right comes from patience, discipline, and a clear view of the field beneath you. Haven't you noticed how most traders lose their stake not from lack of brains but from lack of control? I've seen it all. Men who couldn't resist the urge to trade at every tick. They thought activity was the same as progress. But a hawk doesn't mistake flapping wings for forward motion. He soars, he glides, conserving strength for the strike. A trader who watches like a hawk is one who doesn't waste himself on the noise of the crowd. He picks his spots. He doesn't need 10 trades a day. He needs the right one at the right time. Think about that for a second, how many of your trades were truly necessary. When I was a boy chalking up quotes in the bucket shops, I learned to read the tape like a man reads a book. Every price told a story, and every story had a meaning. But you couldn't read it if you blinked too often. You needed the sharp focus of a hawk's eye, scanning, observing, knowing when a change was real and when it was only smoke. Too many traders close their eyes to half the story because they can't stand the waiting. Do you wait long enough to see the whole picture? You see, the market doesn't whisper, it roars. But it roars in a language only the careful can understand. A hawk can hear a rustle of grass from the clouds above. Traders need that kind of sensitivity. They need to feel when the tape is strong or weak, when the buying is real or when it's a sham. They need to see not just the price, but the meaning behind the price. That's what I call the hawk's vision. Do you really believe you're watching closely, or are you just staring? Now, don't get me wrong. Watching like a hawk doesn't mean you become a stone figure staring at the ticker all day. That's just as useless as chasing every tick. A hawk doesn't stare blankly, it studies. It interprets. It connects one movement with the next. It has perspective. In trading, perspective is everything. If you can't step back and see the broad sweep of the market, you'll be trapped in the noise of the moment. Haven't you ever noticed how the noise is what lures most men to their downfall? The market has a way of making fools of those who rush. Prices tempt you with movement, whispering that you must act now or miss your chance. But chances are like buses, they come back around if you're watching the road. A hawk's eye means you know that patience pays more than haste. The tape always gives another chance to the man who waits. Ask yourself, are you the man who waits or the man who jumps? Every great move I ever caught came because I was watching and waiting, not because I was rushing. When I made money, it wasn't from being clever, but from being patient. That patience came from seeing like a hawk, circling until the market showed its hand. I didn't need tips. I didn't need chatter. I needed the clear picture. And the clear picture only comes when you're willing to wait for it. Do you have the patience to wait for the picture to sharpen? It takes practice. Sharp eyes aren't given, they're trained. A hawk trains by flying, watching, missing, learning. A trader trains the same way. You learn by losing small, by watching carefully, by understanding your own mistakes. That's what sharpens the vision. Every loss I ever took that I studied closely became a lesson. Every mistake I didn't examine became a repeat. Which of your losses have you studied, and which have you tried to forget? Forgetting is the enemy. The hawk never forgets where it saw movement. It circles back, testing, checking. A trader must do the same. You must remember where you went wrong, why you were fooled, how the market tricked you. That memory becomes your advantage. It sharpens your eye for the next move. The market rarely changes its tricks, it only changes its timing. If you've been fooled once and you forget it, you'll be fooled again. Do you keep a record of your mistakes, or do you throw them away with your ticket stubs? I'll tell you, most men hate to look at their mistakes. It bruises their pride. But pride is expensive in this business. The hawk has no pride, it has hunger. It doesn't care if it missed one strike, it keeps circling for the next. Traders with pride blow up. Traders with hunger keep learning. Which are you? Are you circling with hunger or diving with pride? You must also understand that the hawk's eye is not just about sharpness, but about distance. The hawk sees both the field below and the sky around. A trader must see both the short-term movement and the long-term trend. Most men see only the next tick. They can't see the broader wave. But the big money is always in the big wave. The small moves are for the small players. Do you train your eye to see beyond the tick? When the market breaks into a trend, it's like the wind beneath a hawk's wings. It carries you. But if you're flapping your wings at every gust, you'll exhaust yourself. Let the trend carry you. Don't fight it. Don't try to outthink it. The hawk doesn't fight the wind, it rides it. Too many traders think they're smarter than the market, but the market is always bigger, always stronger. Have you ever tried to fight a trend and seen what it does to your account? The hawk's eye also means detachment. The hawk doesn't care whether the mouse looks fat or skinny. It cares only whether it can strike clean. A trader must learn the same detachment. Don't fall in love with a stock. Don't hate it. Don't cheer it, don't curse it. Watch it. Trade it when it's right. Leave it when it's wrong. The market has no feelings, and it doesn't care about yours. Can you strip your feelings away when you trade, or do they still cling to you? I've watched men ruin themselves because they wanted the market to prove them right. They couldn't detach. They stared, but they didn't see. The hawk sees clearly because it's not distracted by feelings. It doesn't hope or wish. It sees what is. That's the hawk's gift. The trader who learns to see like that has a fighting chance. The one who doesn't is finished before he begins. Do you see what is, or do you see what you hope for? And remember this, the hawk is solitary. It doesn't hunt in flocks. Trading is a lonely game. The crowd is nearly always wrong at the turns. If you want the hawk's eye, you must be willing to stand apart, to circle alone. The chatter of the crowd will only dull your vision. You must watch for yourself, decide for yourself, act for yourself. How many of your trades were your own idea, and how many were borrowed from another man? I never trusted tips, never trusted the crowd. I trusted the tape. The tape told the truth to the man who knew how to read it. The crowd told lies to itself. The hawk doesn't ask another hawk where the prey is, it sees for itself. Traders must learn the same independence. Without it, you're only following shadows. Isn't it true that most of your biggest mistakes came from listening to someone else instead of yourself? The hawk also knows timing. It doesn't strike too soon, and it doesn't strike too late. It waits for the perfect moment. That's the hardest part of trading, the waiting. The moment between seeing and acting. Many men fail there. They either jump too soon or they freeze too long. But the hawk knows that hesitation is as deadly as haste. Do you strike at the right time, or does your timing betray you? The tape will test your timing every day. It will tempt you with false moves, fake breaks, sudden jerks. But if you've trained your eye, you'll know the difference between noise and signal. That's the hawk's vision distinguishing the real from the false. Most men see only movement, not meaning. That's why they lose. Have you trained yourself to tell the difference? And don't forget, the hawk doesn't always succeed. Sometimes it misses. But it doesn't give up. It doesn't sulk. It climbs back and circles again. Traders must accept that losses are part of the hunt. No man wins every strike. The key is to keep your losses small and your eyes sharp. Too many traders think a loss is the end. But a loss is only tuition if you learn from it. Do you treat your losses as lessons, or do you treat them as wounds? You see, the hawk's eye isn't just about the market. It's about the trader himself. The discipline to watch, the patience to wait, the detachment to act, the memory to learn, the independence to decide. These are the qualities that sharpen your vision. Without them, no amount of charts or tips will save you. With them, you'll see clearly where others are blind. Isn't it true that the best trades you ever made came from clarity, not from luck? The hawk's eye sees opportunity, but it also sees danger. It knows when not to strike. That's just as important. A trader must learn when to stay out. There are days when the market is nothing but confusion, and the tape tells you nothing clear. On those days, the hawk stays aloft, circling, waiting. The fool dives into the grass and comes up empty. Do you know when to stay out, or do you force yourself in just to feel busy? Many fortunes have been saved not by making the right trade, but by avoiding the wrong one. The hawk's restraint is as valuable as its strike. In trading, not losing is often the first step to winning. Have you ever counted how much money you'd still have if you had simply avoided your worst trades? The hawk's eye is also about focus. It sees the small detail without losing the big picture. It sees the mouse in the grass and the horizon in the distance. Traders must learn the same focus detail and perspective together. If you stare only at the mouse, you'll miss the storm behind you. If you look only at the horizon, you'll miss the chance at your feet. Can you balance detail and perspective in your trading? This balance is what separates the speculator from the gambler. The gambler is blind to both detail and perspective. He bets on hope, not sight. The speculator sees clearly, acts carefully, and accepts the result. The hawk is never gambling when it strikes. It is seizing what it has already judged to be right. Are you gambling when you trade, or are you striking with judgment? The hawk's eye doesn't blink at the sun. It looks straight into the light. Traders must do the same with the truth. Don't hide from what the tape tells you. Don't pretend a losing position will turn around just because you want it to. Face the fact. Cut the loss. Move on. The hawk doesn't cling to empty ground. It seeks the living prey. How many of your losses would be smaller if you had faced the truth sooner? The tape rewards clarity and punishes denial. It doesn't care about your hopes. It doesn't care about your pride. It only cares about supply and demand, buyers and sellers, strength and weakness. The hawk sees the truth. The trader must see it too. If you can't face the truth, you'll never last. Do you face the truth in your trades, or do you hide from it? Balance is a word most men toss around easily, but in the market it means survival. The hawk sees the mouse on the ground and the horizon in the distance at the same time. It doesn't lose itself in one or the other. That's what makes it deadly. In trading, this balance is the difference between the man who keeps his stake and the man who loses it. Most traders either get lost in the weeds of detail, or they float away on the clouds of big vision. Very few manage to hold both in their eye at once. Tell me, when you look at your trades, are you lost in the tick by tick, or are you lost in the long-term dream? You see, the tick is seductive. The tape moves fast, and it tempts you to believe that every wiggle matters. If you stare only at that, you become a prisoner of noise. You jump in and out, cutting yourself to pieces with commissions, slippage, and bad timing. You exhaust yourself with effort that brings no reward. But if you ignore the tick completely and only see the grand horizon, you're blind to the moment where the strike is possible. The man who dreams of the great trend but doesn't notice the price slipping beneath his feet is as helpless as a hawk staring at the clouds while the prey scurries away. Haven't you found yourself too focused on one side and missing the other? The real art lies in holding both. A hawk flies with its wings steady, sensing the air around it, scanning the distance, but it never loses sight of the ground. Traders must do the same. You must know where the broad tide of the market is flowing, but you must also know where the immediate danger and opportunity lie. A rising tide can carry you, but if you step into it too soon or too late, you'll be drowned. A falling tide can ruin you, but if you can see the small counter move, you might find a pocket of profit. Isn't trading often just this, being pulled between the tide and the tick? I remember times when I made mistakes because I didn't balance the two. There were days when I was so intent on the long-term trend that I ignored the warning signs in the details. I held on to positions that the tape was telling me to abandon. I said to myself, the trend is strong, it will come back. But the detail was already showing me weakness. By the time I admitted it, I had lost more than I should have. On the other hand, I've also been caught staring at every wiggle, selling too soon, only to watch the big move unfold without me. Both mistakes come from imbalance. Which mistake are you more guilty of, clinging to the big picture or being trapped in the small one? A trader with a hawk's eye learns to use detail and perspective together. He sees the small movement as part of a larger story. He knows that one day's action is just a line in the book, not the whole tale. But he also knows that within that line there is information that might change the course of the chapter. Balance means reading both the story and the sentence without being blinded by either. Don't you think most traders fail because they only read one page at a time, or else they try to read the ending before the story is written? Let's take an example. Suppose the market has been in a strong uptrend for weeks. That's the horizon view, the broad sweep. But one day, the tape shows heavy selling on volume, and the price closes near its low. That detail matters. It doesn't erase the trend, but it's a signal. A hawk's eye notices it. You don't abandon the trend blindly, but you adjust. Maybe you tighten your stops. Maybe you watch for confirmation. Maybe you scale down your position. You don't ignore the detail, but you also don't let it blind you into believing the trend is finished. Haven't you ever seen traders blow up because they ignored the small cracks in the wall until the whole thing collapsed? On the other side, suppose the market has been drifting aimlessly, no clear trend. Then one day, the tape shows a strong rally with conviction. A man staring only at the tick will dismiss it as noise, but a man with perspective will see that this detail may be the seed of a larger move. He watches carefully, ready to act if the horizon begins to change. The hawk doesn't strike at every rustle, but it doesn't dismiss them either. It connects the small sound to the bigger picture. Isn't it true that the best trades often come when a small detail confirms a broad perspective? This balance requires constant adjustment. The market isn't static. Trends shift. Details change. What was noise yesterday might be signal today. What looked like a wave might be just a ripple. You can't fix your eye in one place and expect it to serve you forever. The hawk's eye is always adjusting, scanning, refocusing. Traders must do the same. How often do you adjust your view, or do you cling to one perspective until it betrays you? The trouble is, balance isn't natural for most men. Our minds want certainty. We either want to believe in the big story or in the tiny tick. One feels safe, the other feels exciting, but the market rewards neither safety nor excitement. It rewards clarity. And clarity only comes from holding both scales in your vision. The hawk doesn't choose between ground and sky. It needs both to hunt. Do you cling to certainty at the expense of clarity? Think of it like breathing. Inhale and exhale, detail and perspective. One without the other is death. Too much detail and you suffocate in noise. Too much perspective and you drift into fantasy. The rhythm of a trader's eye must breathe between them, always shifting, always alive. When you review your trades, do you ever notice whether you were breathing with both lungs or choking on one? Balance also builds confidence. A trader who sees only detail is always nervous. He jumps at shadows. A trader who sees only perspective is always stubborn. He ignores danger. But the trader who sees both is calm. He knows the broad direction, and he knows the small signs. He doesn't panic, and he doesn't freeze. He acts when the two align. That's when the hawk strikes, when detail and perspective meet. Haven't you felt that rare calm when both your short-term and long-term view agreed? The hardest part is the discipline to maintain that balance when the crowd is screaming. The crowd loves detail, it panics at every dip, cheers at every spike. Or it loves perspective, it talks endlessly about the big picture while losing its stake in the meantime. The crowd is never balanced. If you follow it, you'll lose your vision. You must train yourself to step back when everyone else is glued to the tick, and to lean in when everyone else is lost in the dream. How often do you catch yourself being pulled by the crowd's imbalance? Balance is also about risk. The detail tells you where to place your stop. The perspective tells you whether the trade is worth taking at all. Without detail, your stop is blind. Without perspective, your trade is aimless. Together, they give you structure. You know where you're wrong, and you know why you're right. The hawk's eye doesn't just see the prey, it sees the path of attack. Don't you think most traders lose because they either don't know where they're wrong, or they don't know why they're right? Even in sitting out of the market, balance plays a role. Sometimes the details are too confusing, the picture too unclear. That's when the hawk stays aloft, circling, waiting. It doesn't force a strike when the balance isn't there. Too many traders dive into confusion because they can't bear to wait. They want certainty, they want action, and so they force a trade without clarity. That's not balance, that's desperation. Do you know when to wait until detail and perspective align? And make no mistake, balance doesn't mean compromise. It doesn't mean averaging the two into something soft and meaningless. It means holding both at their full strength and seeing how they connect. It means honoring the small without losing the big, honoring the big without ignoring the small. The hawk doesn't blur its vision, it sharpens both near and far. Are you sharpening both in your trading, or dulling them into something vague? This balance is the mark of maturity. A beginner always leans too far to one side. He either overtrades every tick or he clings to some grand theory while the market eats him alive. With time, with losses, with study, he learns balance if he survives long enough. The survivors are the ones who sharpen both eyes. The rest are blinded by one. Which trader are you becoming, the one-eyed or the sharp-eyed? Patience is the hawk's greatest weapon. People often think speed wins. That acting fast is the secret, but in markets, speed without judgment is nothing but a quicker road to ruin. The hawk doesn't dash at the first flutter it sees. It waits. It circles. It holds itself steady until the moment is right. Patience makes it strike sure. Traders need the same quality. Without patience, you'll be rushing at shadows, trading every tick, exhausting yourself and your capital. With patience, you conserve energy. You wait for the right setup, and when you act, your move has weight behind it. Haven't you noticed how often your biggest mistakes come from acting too soon? The market tempts you every minute. Prices move, chatter buzzes, someone whispers about a new opportunity. It all presses you to act. You feel like if you don't jump in now, you'll miss something. But that urge is exactly what ruins most traders. They think opportunity is a fleeting bird, but the market is full of them. The truth is, there will always be another chance, another move, another play. The hawk knows this. It doesn't fear missing a mouse, it knows another will appear. Do you trust the abundance of opportunity, or are you still acting as though every move is the last one you'll ever see? I've learned over and over that my best trades came not from my cleverness, but from my waiting. I waited until the market showed its hand, until the price confirmed the story, until the setup was clean. When I tried to rush, I paid tuition in losses. Patience paid me far more than impatience ever did. A trader who can sit still when nothing is clear is rarer than gold. Most can't do it. They need the thrill of action. But this isn't a game of thrills, it's a game of survival. How often do you act because you want action, not because you see clarity? Patience means resisting the pull of noise. Every day the market makes movements that look important, but are nothing more than ripples on the surface. If you react to every ripple, you'll never ride the wave. The hawk doesn't dive at every twitch of the grass. It waits for the real movement, the undeniable sign that prey is there. Traders must learn the same restraint. You don't need to win every small move. You need to win the moves that matter. Do you still waste yourself on the ripples, or are you holding out for the waves? Patience also protects you from pride. Pride wants to be right immediately. Pride wants the market to confirm your opinion now, not later. But the market doesn't care about your pride. If you push before the time is ripe, you'll be punished. Patience humbles pride. It forces you to wait until the market speaks, not until you're ready to be heard. That waiting is painful, but it's also what saves you. Haven't you ever lost money just because you couldn't bear to wait for confirmation? The hardest part of patience is the silence. While you wait, Nothing happens. The crowd is busy, the ticker is buzzing, but you sit on your hands. You feel like you're being left behind. That feeling eats at most men until they can't resist. They trade just to feel alive. But patience means you embrace the silence. You let others dance while you watch. The hawk doesn't envy the pigeons flapping about. It knows they'll tire and scatter while it waits above. Can you bear the silence, or do you break it with unnecessary trades? I've seen men destroy themselves because they couldn't sit still. They had good judgment, they knew the market, but they had no patience. They frittered away their stake on small, useless trades until they had nothing left for the big one. It's like a hawk diving at flies. It exhausts itself and starves. The trader who cannot wait will always be poor, no matter how clever he is. The one who waits has a chance to catch the big fish. Do you waste your capital on the small stuff, or do you guard it for the right moment? Patience isn't laziness. The hawk isn't idle while it circles. It's watching, studying, calculating. Traders must do the same. Patience doesn't mean shutting your eyes and waiting for luck. It means watching closely, studying the tape, building your judgment, preparing yourself. When the moment comes, you're ready. The strike is fast, but it's built on long preparation. How do you spend your waiting time, studying or drifting? Patience also sharpens timing. Most traders think timing is luck, but it's really the product of patience. If you jump too early, you're wrong. If you jump too late, you're wrong. But if you wait until the setup is complete, your timing feels natural. The hawk strikes at the instant, when the prey has no escape. That's not luck. That's patience paying off. When you think back on your best trades, weren't they the ones where you waited long enough for timing to become obvious? There's another side to patience, knowing when not to act at all. Sometimes the market offers nothing clear, no setup worth the risk. The hawk doesn't strike just to prove it's a hunter. It waits as long as it must. Traders who lack patience force trades, invent reasons, justify action when there should be none. That's how accounts are drained. A man with patience doesn't fear the empty days. He knows the market will eventually offer him his chance. How many trades have you made that you knew, deep down, you shouldn't have made at all? Patience also keeps you from being whipsawed by emotions. Fear and greed live in the short term. They feed on the urgent tick, the sudden spike, the sharp drop. Patience makes you step back and breathe. It gives you the space to see whether the move is real or just noise. Without patience, you're ruled by emotion. With it, you rule yourself. The hawk doesn't panic when the grass rustles. It waits to see if it's wind or prey. How often do your emotions rush you into trades that patience would have filtered out? Even losses teach patience. A man who loses by acting too quickly learns to wait next time. Every bad trade is a reminder that impatience costs money. Over time, if he survives, he grows slower, calmer, more deliberate. He begins to see that waiting isn't weakness but strength. The hawk wasn't born patient, it learned through survival. Traders must learn the same way. Which of your losses were really the price of impatience? The market always rewards patience in the long run. Not because patience guarantees success, but because impatience guarantees failure. A patient trader may still lose, but he loses less often and less severely. He keeps himself alive long enough to catch the right move. And survival is the first rule of speculation. The hawk survives by patience, not by frenzy. Isn't survival your first task before profit? Patience doesn't mean certainty. You may wait and still be wrong. But waiting gives you better odds. It filters out the weak chances, leaving only the stronger ones. The hawk doesn't strike every shadow. It strikes when it sees enough to believe. Traders can't demand perfection, but they can demand better odds. Patience is how you give yourself those odds. Don't you think your results would improve if you cut half your trades and waited for the stronger half? The greatest difficulty is that patience feels like doing nothing. Most men can't bear to do nothing, but in trading, nothing is often the smartest action. The hawk spends more time waiting than striking. That's why it lives. Traders must accept the same rhythm. Long hours of watching, short bursts of action. That's the game. Do you accept the rhythm or do you fight it? Patience, then, is not a passive quality. It's active, sharp, deliberate. It's the weapon that keeps you from wasting yourself. It's what allows you to strike when the odds are best. Without it, every move is a gamble. With it, every move has purpose. The hawk doesn't get many chances, but it doesn't need many. Traders don't need many either. They need patience for the few right ones. Isn't it true that your best profits came from just a handful of trades, not from hundreds? Independence of thought is a trader's true edge. It isn't the charts, it isn't the tools, it isn't the latest news feed. It's the ability to stand apart from the crowd and make your own judgments. The hawk doesn't fly in flocks. It doesn't need company to find its prey. It hunts alone, sharp-eyed and silent. That's why it survives. Traders who follow the herd rarely last. They may win for a while when the herd is right, but at the turns, when the real money is made or lost, the crowd is almost always wrong. Tell me, when you place your trades, are they really yours, or are they borrowed from another man's conviction? The temptation to follow others is powerful. Markets are uncertain, and uncertainty breeds fear.